been a little bit since I've done one of these videos. Unless you want to count my first Slash I ever made video, it's been almost a month. Wow, that's insane. Well, without further ado, I'm Cosmic Gias, and welcome to the Cosmic Gias page. I'm your host and anchor, Levi Ackerman, and today we're going to be talking about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem movie that recently came out in theaters. First things first, if you haven't seen the film, what are you doing here? Go watch that, then go back to this video. Like, come on, guys. Okay, so there's a few major changes you should be aware of when watching this movie, and that's that they stuck with the TMNT Rise route for Splinter. If you don't know, that basically means that there's no connection between Splinter and Shredder, which I honestly believe was a big mistake, because they use him being a rat who learned martial arts from movies and shows just like The Rise of Turtles. I can understand making a connection to all the series from the TMNT, but cutting off that connection between Splinter and Shredder, I feel like it can have dire consequences for the future of the films. Here's some routes for the previous TMNT films and shows that have gone through for Splinter. Splinter was a rat pet who witnessed his master and the great man Hamato Yoshi be killed by Shredder when making contact later with Ooze. Now has bad blood, obviously, with Shredder personifying the spirit of Yoshi. Wrong one, my bad. This is usually the more common version of Splinter's character, being used in the original Mirage comics, the live-action films, and the 2003 animated series, while the other origin of Splinter is that Hamato Yoshi himself being mutated into a rat, which had been used in the 1987 animated series, Archie comics, and the beloved 2012 animated series. Now, again, we have a new origin for Splinter and the Rise of Turtles probably having the stupidest, in my opinion, with Splinter being an action star who got turned into a rat with Ooze and is tasked by his ancestors to protect the Shredder, which is a suit of armor. God, I hate this series. I don't get the appeal of the new series in the slightest. Anyways, the new TMNT chose to go that route, except he's not an action star, but got his martial arts skills from classic movies and shows, which is way better than the Rise origin, even if it's not really good and lacks a good story. Another thing is also Leatherface. I mean, come on, we gotta talk about Leatherface. The guy's supposed to be rough and tough and badass as fuck, but changing him Australian and having guns? I mean, come on, Seth, what you doing, my boy? But other than that, there's some stuff I love about the new TMNT, and that's gotta be the Turtles. I love how fleshed out the characters feel, and their distinct personalities in the movies make me enjoy all of them for different reasons. But of course, my favorite one is Leo, and God, did they give my boy Leo justice in this film. Being the snitch brother, the one that seems to be the most disliked, to being the badass, most beloved brother of the bunch, having an amazing redemption arc to finally stop Superfly. Speaking of Superfly, that's actually a change I enjoy. Superfly not being Baxter Stockman isn't an issue with me at all. I love the idea of Superfly having the OG Splinter origin, showing us Splinter could have turned out like Superfly if it weren't for the Turtles showing him the goodness in their hearts. I mean, even in the film itself, they were even trying to elaborate that point hard by telling how much Splinter hates the humans and how he didn't even like the Turtles at first when he discovered them, having so much hate in his heart before giving into how adorable they were. But if he didn't have his future like this, he could have turned out exactly like Superfly. Quoted by Superfly himself, that Splinter hates the humans just as much as him. Now, this movie leads heavily on trying to make each individual turtle have a bit of their own screen time, even though it's clear Leo is the main lead in this film for the Turtles. So, let's go through the Turtles then. I think the most appropriate way to start is with Leo. In this film, they decide to lead with Leo being the calculated, overprotective, goody two-shoes leader. This is shown in the film with him coming up with a majority of the plans and leading attacks, being overprotective to take the initiative in the group. The most next to, of course, Raph. Through the film, trying to be responsible as much as possible and have everyone follow his lead. This leadership role can start to show how much of a burden it may be on him, as his brothers ignore him and make fun of him, though he doesn't let it bother him. They really lean in on Leo being an overall protector and good brother to his family, realizing that even though he may be hated on for it, he's just doing what needs to be done to protect his brothers without getting them all in trouble, which reveals how noble of a character he really is. They also make him develop a crush with April instead of it usually being April and Donnie, like the 2012 show, or April and Michelangelo like the live action. I seriously hate this fucking trope of the Turtles being shipped with April, but for some reason, they won't stop doing it. Though thankfully, it seems like Leo likes April, but she only thinks they're friends. But real quick, let me talk about April. I don't care that she's black and a geek. But is she E-Slash? Is that why he ain't in the movie? Like, I don't fat shame, but she built like Miss Puff on some real shit. Don't get it twisted, I love my chubby black queens. Moving on to April as a character, she isn't really bad, but sort of generic in my opinion, and a little stale, but not necessarily a bad character. Just one of those things when you see a certain archetype repeatedly used, and it gets boring as fuck. She's a reporter like the original show, but for her school, and wants to get popular and save her school's prom so she wouldn't be recognized as Puke Girl. Wait. Wait a sec. But overall, she's an alright character in my opinion, just very forgettable. Now moving on to Raphael, probably my favorite design out of the Turtles. They seem to sort of make his aggressive behavior, at least when speaking out, a bit more tamed than usual, but still good enough to clearly acknowledge that it's Ralph. Clearly showing scenes of him being excited to beat up villains just for the violence of fighting, which is very, very Raphael. I really enjoy Raph's voice in this movie because out of all the Turtles, it feels more accurate than probably Mikey. Speaking of Mikey, our next turtle up. He's just how a teen Mikey would be, which is amazing. The type of teen who's always trying to crack jokes and not always being funny. Reminds me a bit of me in middle school, so I know they're doing something right. One of my favorite things is the fact that he wants to be an improv actor, and from a wannabe actor to another, Mikey got my heart. Also, anybody notices that this man has braces? I love the small design details because they really distinct the other turtles from each other. Then going on to Donnie, probably the most beloved turtle of this film for a majority of people. Dude is a straight genius, so funny moments from him reacting to things and his high-pitched voice made for iconic scenes. Also, well, he's a fucking weeb, and he enjoys Attack on Titan and Jujutsu Kaisen. So that's something, but overall I really do love his redo in this film. It really adds another layer of personality. We aren't used to this other than maybe the 2012 series. Our turtles start to realize how, if they save the city, then they'd be considered heroes, so they can continue that path with the help of April recording every interaction with the suppliers of Superfly, eventually leading them to finally meet Superfly. Let me say, this group is high-key stacked, but some of my favorites out of them gotta be Mondo, Bebop, and Rocksteady, and the man of the hour, obviously, Superfly. And his backstory with fucking Giancarlo Esposito is insane. Scratch that. The fact that Gus is even there is insane. That's one thing this movie seriously had, which was star power, with all very well-known actors or celebrities scattered across the cast, with Micah Abbey as the purple-banded intellectual brother of the Quad, Donatello. Some roles he's done were Zack from Bunked, Cody Voxel in Meet the Voxels. Moving on to the orange-banded Cooler Turtle and fan favorite Michelangelo, who was voiced by Shimon Brown Jr., the skateboarding jokester who was more hip with the kids. Hip with the kids? Who the fuck made this line? Oh, I made this line, my bad. Some roles he's done were Papa from Chi, and that's what Google says for me. So, yeah, that's it. Oh, he also owns a clothes brand. That's basically all I saw. Going on to the red-banded, aggressive, more hot-headed turtle and beloved by many edgelords, Raph. I love Raphael, don't hate me, please. Voiced by Brady Noon, who's done a few things actually, such as 2 Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies, not the live-action ones, voicing the iconic Greg Heffley, also in the film Good Boys, the Mighty Duck Game Changers, the TV show Boardwalk Empire, and the new show on Disney Plus Crater. Finally going on to the leader and my favorite turtle out of all of them, and probably the most known, Nicholas Cant, playing the blue-banded leader Leonardo, who was in Haley's On It voicing Otto, Puppy Dog Pals, Bizarre Vark, The Good Place, and Gumball from The Amazing World of Gumball, and much, much more stuff. That wraps up the Turtles. Moving on, we have Splinter, who voiced by fucking Jackie Chan. Do I even need to say anymore on why that's the best possible casting ever, next to Brandon Lee's Crow? Now, I have to say, I really enjoy Splinter's personality and how goofy he could really be with the kids, and how overprotective he could be in the film, especially with the milking turtle bit through the film. Then, going on to our villain, Superfly, is voiced by Ice Cube. He did a phenomenal job explaining his reasoning and capabilities in the film to demonstrate how far he'd go to get rid of all humans in order to make the world a better place. But if you don't really understand his reasoning, imagine like a more intense version of Dr. Connors or the Lizard's intentions in The Amazing Spider-Man 1. His voice was perfect for making Superfly sound and feel more intense as a villain, which was great to really exemplify how amazing a villain he could be. And a little cut-in, I love the fact that when the mutants are in the bowling alley, they show all the turtles in their little cliques. Specifically, Mondo and Mikey's interaction bowling. It was so nice and fun to see them interact in that type of way. Also, Leo and Superfly being the only ones interacting in that scene made me hyped to see that type of connection between the characters, as obviously each to their own are considered the leaders of their groups. TMNT's future films, though, kind of worrying me. Seeing that now the Turtles are well known everywhere, all the mutants like the Turtles, and only viable villain left is Cynthia. And I guess Assassin Shredder? Now, I think done in a very specific way, the outcome for whatever comes next can be good. But gonna be honest for that. To happen, I think Jackie Chan is gonna have to take a dive for the team. I'm sorry to say it, but if you got a character like Shredder in the second movie, Shredder gotta make an impact, and a big one at that. So yeah, Splinter's gotta go. I'm sorry to say it. The next movie's gotta be like at least 2.5 hours long, at least, for that build up. Now let's talk about everyone's favorite part of the movie: the small little Easter eggs. When the turtles have their first fight with the car, Go Ninja Go starts playing, a reference towards Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze. Go Ninja, go Ninja, go! Go Ninja, go Ninja! When there's a scene specifically in the beginning where the turtles have their eyes only whitened out, being the reference of the original Mirage comics when all the turtles had red bandanas. In that same scene in the trailer, they obviously mention Batman, making fun of Leo, but I digress. Then in the movie, we end up seeing a Triceraton on a passing moving truck, which, if you don't know, is reference towards the alien Triceraton race in TMNT lore. In Times Square, there's a really fugly-ass SpongeBob when Splinter goes up into the human world, which is also a Nickelodeon property. When the turtles are grounded, Leo has a poster in the background of a real movie called Dragon Lee and the Secret Ninja, which is a Korean martial arts film that had been created in 1982. Practicing with their weapons on a roof, a mention of Hey Arnold and Stewie Griffin are used to compare Mikey's melon head. Then, in their first fight, they compare it to Little Shreks and Geico lizards. When the turtles are sharing a pizza with April for the first time when they're sitting on the roof, a sign of Laird, which references the co-creator of the Turtles, Peter Laird. Also, they mention Marvel's Endgame, with the Hulk being loved after saving the day, which leads on to Mikey talking about Mark Ruffalo's improvised scene, sharing his mutual love with the acting form of improv. When April takes them to their high school, which we find out is called Eastman High, it's actually a nod towards co-creator Kevin Eastman. On the lockers, we see an Attack on Titan drawing while rummaging through the schools they eventually will wear to school. We see Donnie is wearing a purple JoJo's hoodie. When Donnie gets a call on his phone from Splinter, the ringtone is an 8-bit version of the popular song Butter by BTS. When the turtles try to stop Superfly's plan, the song What's Up by Born on Blondes, the exact one He-Man sings, starts playing in the background for a majority of the fight. When Splinter goes to save the boys, he's called Ratatouille, which is a clear nod to the film Ratatouille, and he also does a Neo run where he's stepping on agents from the movie Matrix. When figuring out how to defeat Super Duper Fly, they used a form of yes and, which is used heavily in improv to figure out a way to end the fight. In the film, they also use a Pizza Turtle delivery van to stop Super Duper Fly, making a reference to the original TMNT show's Turtle Van. Obviously, Donnie referencing Attack on Titan to figure out how to defeat Superfly's new monster form. The mysterious hand that reaches for Splinter to help him is actually the voice of Kevin Eastman, co-creator of the Turtles. Then, finally, Shredder's reappearance at the end. And that's all the Easter eggs I got for this video. Oh, and I almost forgot to say, they also mentioned The Last Ronin. If you didn't notice, pay attention to when they leave the sewers. Look at the bandana that lands in Splinter's hands. No one else's bandana but his alone. It's clear that this film has a lot of care and love put into it by Seth Rogen and the actors, but if you want the series to continue, then there is no better way than to go out there and watch the movie itself. Support the creator. My only hope is that they eventually introduce one of my favorite characters and don't fuck her up, Karai. I love Karai. She's awesome, especially in 2012. Alright, that's it for this video. I really appreciate the support, and if you could like and subscribe, it would mean the world to me. And, as always, Cosmic, signing off.
That's all it is, Miles. A leap of faith.
Like, what's up, danger? Like, what's up, danger? Like, what's up, danger?